Hi guys, Kelly Fisher here. Welcome to video 3 of our 3-part training video series, Control, Reduce, and End Anxiety in Your Life. If you haven't watched the first 2 videos, Control and Reduce, click on there now. Go watch those videos. We'll be here waiting for you. Alright, first of all, I want to thank you for the comments you left in videos 1 and 2, Control and Reduce, and I understand, exactly where you're at and where you're coming from to end anxiety in your life. This is the 3rd part in our training series of how to end anxiety. Just want to quickly recap the first 2 videos of Control and Reduce. And remember, in video 1, Control, what are you in control of? You're always in control of your breath work. I know when you have anxious, out of control thoughts, it's the last thing you could think of, especially if the fight or flight is kicking in and your heart is pounding. It feels like it's the last thing you're in control of, but it's actually the first thing. And you're doing the meditations, it's the first thing you're in control of. Remember in video 1, the anxiety circle, the mind and body, and how we break the anxiety circle by slowing the body down with the breath and the body work, and then the brainwave frequency, what that does when we break the anxiety circle. Physically, remember, the brain waves, cycles per second, we slow those down. Why it's so important to break the anxiety circle and break that fight or flight is to slow everything down. Remember, my motto is slow your mind down to the speed you're living. In video 1, we slow everything down, and I gave you a meditation to do at the end. Now you're doing that meditation twice a day. We have in video 1. Also, remember, when you opted into bestanxietysolution.com, you got another guided meditation. You have 2 meditations to listen to twice a day. Remember, that's like the mental lifting. That's like the lifting at the gym to get the body in shape. The meditation is how you slow your mind down to the speed you're living. Once you do slow everything down, remember in video 2, L-shaped technique. Control, reduce, and reduce. In the second video, I taught you L-shaped technique. What does that mean? Once you start to slow everything down and break that anxiety circle and slow the brainwave frequency down, the megahertz per second, then we just get that gap where all of a sudden we bring down some new information, some original thought. Meaning, what does that mean? Original thought meaning it's not the same old anxious thought like, oh my God, this day's going to be just like every other day. How am I going to go out and function in the world? How am I going to pay my bill? Slow it all down. Get yourself to a calm level where, remember, L-shaped technique. Now you're bringing down original thought. Now it's like a radio dial. When you just turn that radio dial just a little bit, you're on a different frequency. It's by degree, remember. This takes some work, but it's by degree, and it definitely does work. Control and reduce we went through. Now we're going to get into the end in this video, end anxiety. But I just want to remind you that my position, I've been doing this 20 years, helping people get in control of their thought process and slowing their mind down to the speed they're living. So this training series is all about you. It's all about getting you the tools to get back in balance and slow your mind down to the speed you're living, because that's why you're here. And I want to commend you for making it to the 3rd video. Pat yourself on the back, because I know there's a lot of teaching. There's a lot of mental gymnastics in the beginning here, but knowing the structure that you know now, there's no turning back. You know how the mind works, how it dumps it into the body, how to break the anxiety circle. Now you have tools, visual tools, L-shaped technique, and you have 2 meditations to start the process. And hopefully by this video, you've been doing the meditations twice a day, you understand conceptually control and reduce, breaking the anxiety circle. Now we're going to get to end anxiety in this video. We're going to end anxiety by, I'm going to teach you the fork in the road technique. We're going to go to the board again like we did in the last 2 videos to teach you the fork in the road technique to end anxiety. The best way to end anxiety is before it starts. I know that sounds like a catch-22, but now that you have the knowledge, you're going to understand how to stop anxiety actually before it starts. But before I get to that, the teaching of fork in the road technique, I want to introduce you to one of my clients I'm working with. His name is Steve Smith. And I'm just very proud of Steve because he took what I taught him and just really, applied it instantly to his life. It helps a lot because he's been an athlete his whole life, so he understands how the mental game works. But that being said, He's also, since he's male and he's, athlete, a little bit macho, he's a little bit scared of admitting that he had anxiety. Used to lay his head down in his wife's lap on the plane. He had anxiety from fear of flying. So when he got on an airplane, he'd lay his head down in his wife's lap and just pretend like he was sleeping when his heart would be pounding, racing. His anxious thoughts of destruction on the plane would be out of control. And I taught Steve the techniques I'm teaching you right now of control, reduce, and end. And he visualized getting to the other end of the destination safely and soundly. And I'm just so proud of Steve for following along with the program. And I just want to introduce you to him right now.
How you doing? My name is Stephen Smith. I had took Kelly's program. I used to have very bad flight anxiety. I was always nervous to fly, embarrassed to open up to somebody about flying. But I've been flying for years now, 5 to 10 times a year, and I never really discussed this with anybody. And so when I met Kelly, he put me through his program, made me very comfortable. Very comfortable. I opened up to him a whole lot. I told him what triggered my anxiety and how can I prevent this from flying, or how can I get used to flying without having all this anxiety. So we had a couple sessions, about an hour or so, and then, like I said, I opened up. I let him know exactly what was wrong with me, and him him making me comfortable, man, it was just amazing. I never would have thought that getting on a plane would be so easy now, and I appreciate all of that with him. And, the knowledge of the anxiety he has was amazing. To this day, I fly, no problems, none at all, and he kind of taught me a couple coping skills as well, when I do fly and how to handle it. But like I told him, after about a month or so after this program, I flew a couple times by myself. I didn't have no issues at all. And if you ever need somebody, a therapist to talk to open up, I mean, Kelly's the guy.
I'm so proud of Steve. He took what I taught him and he ran with it. He did the meditations twice a day. He did the heavy lifting like I'm asking you to do. You have to do the meditations. You have to slow your mind down to the speed you're living. And Steve got over his anxiety of fear of flying. And one thing I want to point out is you might feel like you have anxiety and you don't know where it comes from. That might be like a phobia. But in most cases, when we're going through life like Steve did, he had the turbulence on the plane. So when he thought about the turbulence, he had anxious thoughts about the turbulence and started having anxiety. And when that happens, the anxiety starts to take over, as you know, stronger than the actual event. And he had anxiety about fear of flying. You might be going through something in your life that you're anxious about. You have anxiety about something going on in your life. So the more clients I've seen over the 20 years helping people one on one, when they come in with a problem, everyone's problem's a little different, obviously, but then they have anxiety about that problem. So it's kind of I developed this sliding scale of anxiety. When I start putting together my programs to control, reduce, and end anxiety, I looked up definitions of anxiety everywhere, and every definition I looked up had the word anxiety in the definition. Like I spoke of, you can't do that. And so what I developed was a sliding scale of anxiety because everyone's at a different part on the scale, meaning if you're just having some anxious thoughts, meaning your mind's negative and out of control and you just wish it was better, but fight or flight hasn't really kicked in, your body hasn't really taken over, you're on one end of the anxiety scale. On the other end of the anxiety scale, fight or flight might be just whizzing at high pace and you just might be in fetal position in bed and not being able to raise your head and even think about getting better. And you want to think about it as a sliding scale, and maybe you're somewhere in between where your anxiety takes over and you have to stay home or you can't go on that flight, and it's a sliding scale of of where you're at in anxiety. So before we get into the fork in the road technique, I just wanted to let you know that where you're at in this anxiety scale has something to do with how quickly you're going to get over it. People ask me all the time, how many sessions is it going to take to, get over my anxiety? Well, where are you at on the sliding scale? How much is it taken over your life? And that's important, because when you do the meditations, you'll start to have breakthroughs. You start to meditate, and all of a sudden you'll have that gap in meditation where you're not sure where you're at. Your conscious roof chatter is shut off, and then that gap gets bigger and bigger. The more you meditate, the more you get back in control, slowing your mind down to the speed you're living. So remember the anxiety scale and where you're at on it. It's just important to know that the more practice you do slowing your mind down to the speed you're living, the quicker you'll be back into a normal rhythm in life, where your thought process isn't going to automatically knee-jerk react and take you to places you don't want to go. All right, this is the best part of the training series so far. In video 3, this is end anxiety. We get to end anxiety. Now, how do we end anxiety? Before it starts. I know in the beginning of the teaching it sounded like a catch-22, but you'll have to understand, once you get in control of your breath work, get in control of your body work, start to slow your mind down to the speed you're living, get into L-shaped technique, start having original thoughts come down, then with that practice up until now, you're going to be at a point where when the original thought is coming down, there's going to be some old triggers that come up, which is fine, because now you have new tools. So the fork in the road technique is, you're literally at a point in your life where you have an original thought, and then all of a sudden you feel a trigger in your body come up, and you can either choose to go down that road. Now you know better. You can choose to go down that old road where anxiety took over. It was dark, it was lonely, you were scared, your heart was pounding, and you know what's down that road. And I'm telling you, when you get to this point, you'll have a conscious choice, a conscious decision to not go down that road anymore. Nope. I have new tools now. I'm going down this road now. These are my new choices. One of the best examples I've ever heard was from Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks. If you've never heard of Abraham Hicks, please listen to their teachings. And she gave an example of Jerry and Esther Hicks. They were sitting around a campfire, and they had these pachinko logs, Esther called it, and which meant they did a lot of sparking, a lot of popping. And Jerry was sitting there with his new cashmere sweater on, close to the fire. And when a pachinko log would pop, it'd pop up on his new cashmere sweater, and he'd look down and flick it off. No harm, no foul. Fork in the road. Now, if it landed, if a pachinko log popped and landed on his sweater, and he looked at it and was just, oh man, what'd that happen for? This always happens to me. In a matter of seconds, it would be up in blaze. It would be on fire. Now, compare that to your thought process. Soon as that old thought pops up, nope, we're not doing that no more. Flick it off. I'm back to center. This is your practice. You will be here very soon with the meditations you're going through, I promise you. Best example of fork in the road, before it starts. I like to always give I love watching Cesar Millan, because he always fixes humans and not animals. And every time animal, just that, no, I talk to my mind all the time. No, I'm not going down that road. Now you have a choice. You have a conscious choice, because you have a conscious choice at the fork in the road, because your body isn't connected to the thought process, meaning the fight or flight hasn't kicked in, and the heart's not racing. Once that heart starts racing, you know what I'm talking about, gets out of control, you're already down the path. You can't do fork in the road. You're already down the wrong path. So when you remember this all, I hope this is all coming together for you, because this has helped so many of my clients. Control, reduce, and end. Control, breath and body. Slow your mind down to the speed you're living. original thought coming down. That little bit of original thought, just enough to get you centered to get through the day or get you out of bed or whatever level of anxiety you are on that scale. Now you have original thought, so you have a little gap where the fight or flight isn't kicked in and it isn't racing yet. Now, before it starts, best way to end anxiety, before it starts. That's what that means. It means you've done the work, you've done the meditations, you're slowing your brain waves down. Remember, cycles per second, rivers of thought. See how this is all fitting together? You're slowing everything down, slowing your mind down to the speed you're living, slowing your body down. Now you have a gap of original thought where you could think about something positive. And when that old trigger pops up, fork in the road. Nope, we're not going down that road anymore. We're not doing that. Now you're back in control. Now, from doing the meditations that I've given you already, now you're getting new rivers of thought. Well, gee, I could think however I want. And all of a sudden, that little trigger, meaning a trigger means mental and physical, and the heart will start to raise a little bit. That's a trigger. Nope. Take your deep breath. If you have time, do your closed eye meditation. If you're in a crowd or you don't have time to really do a closed eye meditation, just when you feel that trigger, take a deep breath. I reset all the time by taking deep breaths. No, I'm not going to think that way anymore. Fork in the road. Now you're back to square one, and now you can start even thinking more original thought because you're not in that fight or flight circle again. I'm going to go to the board and explain the fork in the road just because I love giving visuals and just to understand more of that position we're in now. At the beginning of the fork, now we're back in control. Welcome to Fork in the Road. Now, just like my teaching of control, reduce, and end, it's a simple formula because it works. Simple, control, reduce, and end. Just like my diagrams I give you. Simple. I want a simple visual for you to get back in control and start to make positive decisions in your life. Simple, but not easy, meaning it's going to take a lot of work, like if you were lifting weights and trying to get in shape. And when I say not easy, I don't want you to think that it's not attainable. It's very attainable. It's just going to take some work. And here we go with the work part of it. So the goal is to get to slow your mind down to the speed you're living. This right here at the beginning of the fork in the road, to slow your mind down to the speed you're living is to get to here so we can make new decisions in our life. Now remember, control and reduce, we've already been through. Control what? Breath and body. Very important to know that where you're at when you have extreme anxiety, your heart's racing, fight or flight's kicked in, everything's out of control in your life, you're already way out in left field, so to speak. You're way out here. Anxiety's racing. Remember that anxiety circle? Fight or flight is kicked in. Remember the megahertz per second, the brainwave frequencies. Everything's whizzing. This is where you're at when you're in anxiety. Any level of anxiety, you're out here on the left end fringe. And when I tell people about getting in control of their thought process to end anxiety, there's just no way they can focus that out here because remember the conscious mind, the screwdriver, you can't fix with a broken screwdriver. That's the conscious mind. It's way out here out of control. So control and reduce we've already been through. Control of what? Breath and body. So when you start doing your meditations, you're in control of your breath, starts to slow down. White light healing, remember, white light healing in control of the body. Everything starts to slow down when you start to meditate. Now, very important, if you meditated before or you're doing the meditations now and you feel like it's not working to the degree it should be, that's okay. Remember, as the meditation, as you start to slow down your breath and body, it's slowing down to this degree. You have to keep practicing to get it back to the speed you're living. Slow your mind down to the speed you're living. That's the goal. Then we do fork in the road. So meditation, anxiety, slowing down, breath and body. The breath is slowing down. You're slowing down your breath so much that all of a sudden you're centered. You're back to slowing your mind down to the speed you're living. White light healing, physically shutting off the body. Breath and body are now centered. You've done your meditations. Remember, twice a day. You have 2 meditations that I gave you to do. You're doing your meditations twice a day, right? Slowing everything down, breath and body. Now Once we get back to slowing our mind down to the speed we're living, we're here. Now we can actually consciously think a different thought. Remember, so control, breath and body. Reduce, remember reduce in video 2. When you're here and everything's centered and slowed down, breath and body, control. Remember reduce, L-shaped technique. This is where L-shaped technique comes in, where you start thinking original thoughts. And when you start thinking original thoughts, what that means is that old anxious racing mind, yip yip dog, the pachinko log, you flicked off, you're back to center. Now the L-shaped technique you visualize, you can actually create a brand new thought and start, just to start, go down the new road. This is your original thought that you've never had before because your mind's always been out of control, racing. So now we get to think new thoughts. We slow your mind down to the speed you're living. This is where L-shaped technique. We slowed our mind down to the speed we're living, and now L-shaped technique. Remember, we're bringing down original thought. Now we can start thinking original thought and thinking positive. Now remember, I want you to think about it this way also. When you're out here on the fringe and this freight train's going 100 miles an hour and your heart's racing, you're out of control, you're anxious, you know that feeling. You can't just make that freight train go 100 miles an hour this way. I'm going to think positive thoughts now. You know it doesn't work that way. You have to slow everything down, rev it back up, and start thinking this way. Get the train going this way. So, breath and body, control. Slow your mind down to the speed you're living. L-shaped technique. Original thought comes in, and now you have an original thought of, oh, I can do that with my life. I can do better with my life. And also, when we're getting those original thoughts and we're getting better with our thought process and our life and getting excited about these techniques and actually applying them, the yip yip dog that's over here that you've gotten down to the speed you're living, every once in a while that yip yip dog, remember the old river of thought, old river of thought, old river of thought, that yip yip dog's going to pop up over here. But just like Cesar Millan, just like that pachinko log, you flick it off so you don't have to go boom, boom, and right back to anxiety. As soon as that yip yip dog comes in, that old river of thoughts, remember the lizard brain, it's going to pop up. As you're making positive change, remember everything's by degree. Remember the sliding scale of anxiety. So when you get up here, you can be up here and just feeling really good. And all of a sudden that lizard brain pops up and goes, what the heck is this? I don't want to. But when you're up here and you're in a positive balance and you're really in control and doing the practice and doing the meditations twice a day, you can just automatically, as soon as that lizard brain pops up when you're down here, nope, I'm not thinking that way no more. Up here, when that lizard brain pops up again, because it's going to happen. As we change habits, the neural net in the brain, we're slowing it down. Old river of thought, old river of thought, old river of thought, new river of thought, new river of thought, going this way. And as we do that, those electronic chemicals that are firing in the brain, old river of thought, that old lizard brain, it's going to pop up every once in a while still. And that's okay. That's okay because you definitely don't have to go back here. It might drop you back down and you go, okay, let me take some deep breaths. Take your deep breaths. If you're somewhere by yourself, do your closed eye meditation. Get yourself, if this lizard brain bothers you that much, do your closed eye meditation. Slow your mind down to the speed you're living. Remind yourself you're in control. You're back here. And if you can't close your eyes and really, really completely reset yourself, a lot of times I'm driving around, I get a negative thought. I'll just take a deep breath in the car and boom, I'm reset. You don't have to get all the way back. You don't have to worry about bouncing back. Once you're in control of this and you just center yourself and get that meditation practice in, you get back to the fork in the road, meaning you don't have to, oh my God, I knew this wasn't going to work out for me, and boom, you're back here and you're anxious and fired up and out of balance again. That's not going to happen. I guarantee the more you meditate, the more you slow your mind down to the speed you're living, the easier it is going to be to go a brand new thought. You're going to have a choice. You're going to be a conscious choice to go up here. And once you have conscious choice and you're centered and that fight or flight hasn't kicked in anymore and that roof chatter's gone, you're going to just be able to make new plans with your life and carry on and expand your life in new ways. And like I said, we come through, you got to pay bills up here. You run into something, some kind of tragic event, that's okay. That's okay. At the very worst, out on this fringe of a positive track, in the very worst, you take your deep breaths and you get centered again. In a very short period of time, you're not going to be here anymore. The yip yip dog, that roof chatter pulling you out of balance, not being able to get out of bed in the morning, depending how bad your anxiety is. Do the meditations, breath and body. Slow it down. Control. Slow your mind down to the speed you're living. Control breath and body. Get here. L-shaped technique, bringing down original thought. Original thought meaning this way. These are original thoughts. You can't bring down these thoughts when your mind is racing and out of control. It's literally physically impossible. Remember brainwave frequency, what we talked about. Now you have choice. You slowed everything down. Once you get past this fulcrum, once you get used to the fork in the road and get past it, now when you're up here, at the very worst, you'll come back down and go, okay, need to recenter myself, need to refocus. I'm not going back down that road anymore. In a very short period of time with these meditations, I guarantee you, because I've done it myself and many, 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 many of my clients have, slowing your mind down to the speed you're living. Slowing your mind down to the speed you're living. Bringing down original thought, L-shape. Planning out your new life, anxiety-free. This system works. I want to give you a visual so when you do start to slow everything down and think that it's not going to work. Nope. Nope. Pachinko log. Nope. Cesar Millan. No. We're not thinking that way anymore. And the more you do this, the more it's going to be new river of thought. New river of thought. And like I said, at the very worst, when things happen in your life, happens to me up here, things hit me, oh my God, what just happened? Okay, I'm back here. At the very worst, you'll be coming back here instead of going all the way down the wrong fork in the road and having that anxiety kick up, the roof chatter, the fight or flight. It's not going to happen anymore. Do your practice, do your meditations, and just think visually. L-shape. You have the visual L-shape. You have your breath and body. Now you have fork in the road. You have the visual not to go down that path anymore. No, I'm not going down that road anymore. I'm thinking positive. That's my example of fork in the road technique. Now, as you know, I like my drawing simple for a reason, because the control, reduce, and end concept is simple but not easy. And that's very important. And I always compare getting the mind in order and getting rid of your anxiety, just like lifting weights at the gym. So if you came to me and said you want to end anxiety, pretend you came and said, I want to look like this guy on the magazine cover, this woman on the magazine cover. I want to be in great shape. That 3-step process would be cardiovascular work, resistance training, and proper diet, proper nutrition. Resistance training, cardiovascular training, and proper diet. Control, reduce, and end. You see, to look like that physically is simple. It's a simple formula. If you did all 3 of those the correct way, your body would look like that. It would. It's a simple formula. Control, reduce, and end. You go through these steps mentally. Do the meditations. It's a simple formula. You will get in control of your thought process and end anxiety. I guarantee you. I've been doing this a long time, helping people just like you where you're at on a sliding scale. You know where you're at. You know you need to do the work. It's a simple formula. I just want to keep repeating that because this is the way it works. This is the secret behind the secret. This is the way it works. Now, is it easy? No. A huge change in life. I want to change my physical appearance. I want to look like the magazine cover. Is it easy? No, it's going to take a lot of work. You got to get up, do your cardio, eat your egg whites in the morning. You know, you've heard that routine before. End anxiety. Simple formula. Control, reduce, and end. Why do I simplify it that much? Because it works. I've seen it time and time again. Worked on myself. I designed this out of desperation to get myself back in control. It's a simple formula. Is it easy? Where are you at on that sliding scale of anxiety? Is it just barely kicking in the fight or flight? it's going to be a lot easier for you. A few visualizations, a couple meditations, even though I suggest meditating every day like I do twice a day, you're going to be back into feeling normal again. If you're on the other end of the scale where you're in fetal position and you could barely listen to the meditations, it's going to take a little longer. It's not going to be as easy, but the formula works. It's created to take you where you're at and get you back in healthy living again, to slow your mind down to the speed you're living and get back in control of your life. Now, I want to take you on just a short journey of visualizing. You're doing the meditations, you're slowing your mind down to the speed you're living, and now, once you get rid of anxiety, once you're back in control, once you're at the fork in the road where you don't have to work with that yip yip dog anymore, now what? See, remember when I waved the magic wand before, when I was speaking of that? I work with so many clients, grown adults, that when I wave my magic wand and say, what can you could do anything with your life. What do you want to do? And automatically, most of them come up with their problems, their anxiety, what they're stuck in, and then they don't even visualize. They look up at the ceiling like, no one ever gave me permission to dream. That's because your anxiety has had a hold on you. That anxiety circle, that fight or flight, that keeping you right where you're at. You don't even have the capacity to visualize what your life would be like without it. Now, after going through these meditations, I want you to visualize on the other side, what is your life going to be like after practicing these visualizations and meditations for a short period of time? Are you going to be able to get on the plane without anxiety, like Steve? Are you going to be able to go to a party without worrying before you even leave the house, and not leave the house because your anxiety's kicked in? What level of anxiety that you're going to get over after listening to these meditations and reprogramming your subconscious mind? Just visualize for a moment how free your life is going to be. Waking up in the morning and not having that roof chatter just kick in the first 5 minutes, and having anxiety about getting to work on time and getting that payday, all that roof chatter is going to go away. Visualize with me for a moment. Visualize it. The experience of being anxiety free. You're this close to being anxiety free. I want you to visualize that for a moment. Just the roof chatter gone. The fight or flight gone. That fork in the road, even if it does pop up. Remember, even if it does pop up, nope. Pachinko log. We don't think that way anymore. Now you're on a path to freedom. I want you to just think about that. Every meditation you do, think about your life anxiety free. Well, I hope you enjoyed this 3-part free training video series, Control, Reduce, and End, as much as I enjoy imparting this knowledge to you. I know where you're at in the anxiety scale, and just giving you this information to get better in your life. Just remember the new rivers of thought. Remember the new rivers of thought. And if this is all new information for you, even if it's not, there's a lot of information in these 3 videos. So watch them over and over again so they get ingrained in your subconscious mind. So it's just habit. It's habit of thought. It's habit of behavior. Do the meditations twice a day. So over and over and over. Remember, new rivers of thought. You're going to be at a whole new place in your life. And I want to let you know I have one more bonus video coming up in a couple of days, where we're going to be opening up registration for my 6-week online training program. And I have a very special offer for you for going through this 3-part training video series. So in a couple of days, I'm going to open up registration. Watch for that video, and we're going to take this to a whole nother level, and you're going to be a completely brand new you.